the like that are wrong, female sports world compared to the men's sport. Wanted to be talking about it way more. Bathroom situation, like we've had so many of those experiences that makes it like kind of a deterrent for female athletes to like participate. Something as simple as like not having access to like clean bathroom for female athletes, it's like you can't like even think about going to a meet like when you're on a period, and you're on the field and like the bathroom doesn't have doors or it's like constantly flooded or like whatever it is. They would have like an 11-a-side field, but for the girls it would be 5-a-side, and that would annoy me so much.
Rana, and I started this website called Finish Line to spread awareness with Indian athletes and share resources with them. And now I also cover tournaments, grassroots level sports, and all of that. And I'm also a diver. I do Olympic diving, and I'm going to be coming to US in the fall of 24 right now as a Division 1 diver at Marshall University.
Oh wow, that's super exciting. Congrats on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you could introduce yourself as well, and give a little background on you and your journey as
Yeah.
an athlete.
Mhm. My name's Nandita Anand. I'm from Bombay and I grew up as a track athlete, like a sprinter. My events were 100 and 200. At my like peak, I quit for like mental health reasons, and then I like focused more on football, and really got into playing football, which is like I would consider the sport that I'm in touch with most right now. And then like when I quit athletics, I like had suddenly had all this time on my hands to like discover new things and new hobbies, because like I had all this time that I never had before because I'd spent training for as long as I could remember. And that's when I found film and I fell in love with film, which is what I'm currently studying at university. And as I like, studied it here and like started making my own films, that's when I kind of like discovered my own niche, which is documentary filmmaking and like focusing more on sports. And yeah, so that's my niche, and I graduate in May, so hopefully I'm hoping to get into like some sort of sports space and like be able to apply my film background in that.
Was that like when you initially shifted, was it definitely a bit tough?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because my first year was like also during COVID year. So my first
Oh,
semester was completely online in India. So like doing class at like 3 a.m. at night was not ideal. And then like when I eventually came here, everything was very like restricted. Like you couldn't really like meet people and things like that. So I think the start kind of like tainted my journey a little bit. It was definitely like tough, like adjusting, because everything is like the culture here is just very different in the way that
different.
people are. But yeah, I think like my education has been really good, and I wouldn't trade that like the like film experience that I've had here.
Like, how do you get into like female sports and how do you start, Ready Set Girl? What was the story behind
Um,
that?
yeah. So well, I mean, growing up as like a female athlete, like I don't think that when I was like actually in my sport and like when I was like actually a female athlete, I wasn't aware of the fact that it was important that I was like an athlete and a girl. But then like after I quit and things like that, and I became more aware of like all the like things that are wrong with the female sports world compared to the men's sports world, like I wanted to be talking about it way more, and I found that I was like kind of the only one in my circles that were talking about it. My first, so Ready Set Girl kind of came from my first film, which is called Ready Set Girl, which is about like female athletes in India essentially. And like it was my first film that I made to get into college. So it's like it's in hindsight, looking back at it now, it's like it's a little bit like amateur. Just interviewed like a lot of my friends because I was an athlete, I
Yeah,
had like
yeah, that's true.
um connections to like other like athletes in the city. So I just interviewed people that I know about their experiences of what it's like running in India, and the struggles they've had, or like what it's like particularly to be a girl, and like what discrimination they've had and things like that. So the name came from that first film, because I like when I made the film I fell in love with the name, and I always knew that I wanted to like do something more and like kind of grow that brand. I don't know why it took me so long, but like more recently I just feel like I've like I've not been able to talk about anything else but women's sports. And like I was talking about it on my regular Instagram account, and I just like felt like I needed to like kind of
Take a
make that.
separate.
Yeah, and I've wanted to like do it for so long. Like I want to do something for so long, and everyone's always asked me, why don't you start your own thing? And then I don't know, like I like literally I don't even think it's like been a month since I started the page, and I just was like I finally like just want to do something and put something out there and like
Yeah, because like I came across your page, and not many people in India promote women's sports that much. And I
yeah,
just love that there is coverage on that, because it definitely is very tough to be a female athlete in India. Like being a diver myself, there's been times in competition where I couldn't go use the washroom for 12 hours on a stretch. And it's very frustrating, right? It's very sad to see, but there is progress. But I feel the more we talk about it, the better. And it's great that you're doing
exactly.
that. So that's what it was. What inspired you really? Was it like your whole journey being a female athlete in India that really inspired you to talk about it and to make an account? Or was it like the film that you made that inspired you?
Um, I mean, I think it's kind of like a mix of both. I obviously like feel for it very strongly because I was a female athlete. So like I know what it's like, and like that's why I'm able to connect to the subject matter so much. But I think being so involved in media in general, like and especially being in the US where there's so much coverage on like female sports, like especially compared to like India at least, like I've been seeing so much of that that I just wanted to get involved in some way because I know that my audience would be like very different, and like I would be able to tap into like an Indian audience as well and like talk about things that they might not necessarily have seen anywhere else. Because I didn't want it to just be like India or just be the US. I wanted to like cover more globally as well, and like all kinds of sports, and just like a to be a resource for like anyone who's not even like into sports at all. Easy for people to understand like how it works and like the athletes and things like that. So because like I know so many people who just like they just don't care about sports, and I just like
Yeah,
wanted to like even if it's like by making pretty graphics for to like to catch people's attention, and
attention.
it's easy to do that and things like that.
So just yeah, so
um
they actually read about it, I guess.
yeah, so I mean I guess like a mix of both, and just coming here and seeing how much people are talking about it and how easy it is to get involved. I think that also kind of like pushed me to just like finally do it.
That's really great. That's really great to hear. And yeah, I agree, because obviously not everyone is into sports, but I think that's the thing with Instagram. If you make it aesthetic and more people will come
Exactly.
and read it, so it's more accessible as well. But yeah, that's great. I think that's how we will actually build that attention towards female sports as well. What were like the challenges that you faced in your whole athletic career as a track athlete, and how did you actually overcome them?
Yeah, I mean, I think like comparatively to a lot of other female athletes in India, I definitely like had a very privileged position because like my parents always were super supportive of me. They always like they encouraged me to like do my sport, and they were totally like they totally backed me when I decided to quit as well. So in that sense, honestly, like I didn't have that many like struggles, I would say. Like the way that the game is, it's not really like they don't really care about the female athletes in a lot of ways, like you were saying, like the bathroom situation, like we've had so many of those experiences. Like it's just like, and I feel like that's such a deterrent for female athletes to like participate, because like something as simple as like not having access to like clean bathrooms, or like like any like good usable bathrooms, like for female athletes it's like you can't you can't like even think about going to a meet like when you're on your period like all
Exactly.
day, and you're on the field, and like the bathroom doesn't have doors, or it's like constantly flooded, or like whatever it is, like not being able to use that, like it's just like then like I can't be there. So small things like that, it just like kind of like makes it so obvious that the game is like not for us. Or things like when like I would like when I was like competing in like under 12 or under 14, and I would see the under 18 category, like the number of participants would dwindle so much as the ages go up, because like either like the girls just would drop out because they knew that this was not going to be a viable career for them, or like their parents would make them quit because they had to like focus on their studies, or like focus on getting married, or like supporting the household, or whatever it is. So seeing small things like that was also just like really sad to see that like that is the reality of it. You like for athletics, we would always wear like we'd wear shorts and we'd wear like track pants over that to like warm up, and then like you'd have to like strip your track pants, and I feel like I would always be so conscious of doing that like
In
in the
public
middle
in
of
front of.
like like because it always feels a little bit unsafe, and even like wearing like such like tiny shorts in like this like not the best areas like in the suburbs of like Bombay and stuff like that is like always a little bit like unnerving, I think.
That's
um
true. I could
yeah.
agree on that. I mean, I wear a costume and like there are thousands of people staring at you. It's very weird, honestly.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, they don't make it the most comfortable. Like there were other like small things that would like really like annoy me. Like when I got more into football as well, like I would go for tournaments, and like the tournament would be like for the boys, they would have like an 11-a-side field, and the tournament for the boys would be 11-a-side, but for the girls it would be 5-a-side. And that would annoy me so much because because it's just like why? It's like, it's not like
Why
we
can't
don't
they keep
have
it
like,
the same?
it just doesn't make any sense. And like there's just so many things wrong with the game back home, I think. But
Yeah, like they discourage like female athletes to not compete. If you see all of this that's going on, I mean, having a washroom is the most common thing that should be there, right?
yeah,
So yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it should be equal and we should get the same respect. Only then
yeah,
will the participation increase for it.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, it's
exactly.
really sad.
Yeah,
It is.
definitely. So many things that are like embedded in Indian culture that like really just make it not like inherently like it's not allowed to be equal. Like I would hear my friends talk about things like, oh my like my mom doesn't, or like my mom's friends would like be like, oh, like how are you letting her compete in the sun all day, she's like getting dark or whatever, like
Yeah.
just like small like mindset like that's embedded in
There's a
Indian
big
culture.
mindset issue in that
Yeah,
part. Like, oh, like girls can't play sports, or they should meant to stay at home and all. I've heard that,
yeah,
especially for people who are not that privileged. Like, there are
yeah,
many athletes and friends of mine who are not that privileged, and their parents, they have to force their parents to even let them compete. They're always like,
yeah,
you should focus more on studies. You're a girl, and yeah. So
yeah,
there's a lot of mindset barrier, a lot of mindset issues in India that yet need to
yeah,
improve a lot
yeah.
tremendously for female sports.
the the public has been much more welcoming to female athletes like doing well. Like they do want to see them do well, and they do want to like especially now like like you can't like the numbers don't lie, like people are watching female sports more than a lot of the men's sports in the
That's
US. um so like I think people are like now like recognizing the talent. Like the female athletes are kind of making themselves undeniable. Like you can't like the skill and the talent, like you can't really like ignore them anymore, I
Yeah,
think.
you really can't. And I
Yeah.
think the numbers speak for it, especially in US in basketball and all of that. The
Yeah,
fame is
exactly.
next level. So
Yeah,
definitely.
so yeah, I think I mean I think people here are receiving it a lot better.
Like the global landscape, but this can change for female athletes in India, especially how do you think it can become better? And I don't know if it'll reach the level of US yet, but even making that progress for female sports in India, how do you think we can, reach that level?
Taking the US as example, I think that like female sports here really kicked off because of the women, like their national women's football team. And that only happened because there was a gap in the market, because their men's team wasn't doing well. The women were able to like take that like position because they were doing well. So people were like, okay, we can pay attention to them in this sport because there's no one
And
in the like, males here to pay attention to. And I think after that really kicked off and they fought for equal pay and things like that, that kind of like set the scene for like even like basketball to kick off, and like just to like pay attention to female athletes in general. I think in the US it really started with the football, but in India, like, women don't want to like participate because of so many other factors. Like, there're just so many things that they have to consider, like socioeconomic things and like cultural mindset and like things that they're supposed to do as a girl and stuff like that. Like the landscape in India is so different because of class divide is like
Yeah,
bigger here than I mean in India than it is here. So it's much more complicated and there's so many more factors to think of. And I think like coaches and things that exist already in women's sports can kind of be can like already hold those like backward oppressive values that and they do like impose them on the like women athletes that come in. So like
that's
I don't
true.
know, like it's complicated in India because there's so many things you have to think about. I mean I think that it has grown. I think women sport
Definitely
like
has
women's
grown from what it was before, for sure.
yeah. I think that it has grown. There is like a little bit more coverage and things like that. Like especially like for cricket, because like India really
Yeah.
cares about cricket. And
WPL,
like
they get a
yeah,
lot.
and like that just yeah, like that just started like literally last year. So like there is like progress, things are happening, but like there's still a long way to go, like to like match up to Western countries as well, at least. Exactly. And I think in general, for like you said, like sports in general in India, like there's so much corruption as well involved that
Oh,
like it there's a
yeah.
long way to go for
Yeah.
everything to do, for us to actually do well in like on a global stage.
The safety of girls, when you said about coaches, I think it's
Um,
the safety of girls also not good, because every other day in the news you hear something about sexual abuse, this, that for females. So it
yeah.
definitely, even in US, I've heard, like, if you've heard of like Simone Biles and her whole
Yeah,
case,
yeah, yeah.
yes, so
Diagnosis.
that is definitely another aspect to consider when
Yeah.
females think of joining sports.
Yeah, and I think that like a big difference is like in the US, like that just gets so much coverage. And in
Yeah,
India, like kind of just like
it
goes
just
like,
is,
yeah, this is
yeah, under
how
the
it
carpet.
is. You know, like because like for the whole like US gymnastics situation, there's like so many like documentaries made about it. Like there's like a
Yeah,
really big,
they have a whole
you know, like
Netflix documentary.
Netflix are covering it and like I just don't like no one has like cared enough, I guess, to cover it in India or it just it just like no one is allowing it to get the coverage that it needs to get.
So can you, from your whole athletic journey, can you share one memorable moment that you think has shaped who you are today? Obviously, I know you quit your sport, but once an athlete, always an athlete. So,
Yeah.
yeah, if you can give me just one.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think there's one incident that always comes to mind, and it's like it's not necessarily a positive incident, but it's like stuck with me after so many years. There was this one like really important 200-meter race that I was running that I would like qualify for like state. It was like district level, and then I'd qualify for state
Let's
if
say,
I like whatever, it was, like top two. And my best friend had just qualified for 400 meters. So we were like, oh my God, we can go together,
oh,
whatever. If I
yeah,
qualify for 200. And I was like, I was in the lead. It was amazing, whatever. And then like literally in the like 10 meters before the finish line, my spike got like stuck in the track and I tripped. And like I was like, I was so close to the finish line. And I like that has like never like that like memory has never left me. Like I can still like remember like how much disappointment I felt like in that moment. And I don't know, I think like these like small moments like as an athlete really shape you because like
yeah.
something like this is so small. It's just like one race of like probably like hundreds that I ran that like I'll never forget, and I'll never forget like the feeling and things like that.
Like it's like you're almost there and you're almost winning, but just
Ah.
that spike, yeah, definitely it hurts a lot. What advice could you give to the female athletes, who are aspiring to yet pursue their passion in sports, in India and obviously globally, if some advice you could give?
Well, I think like for female athletes, like young female athletes today, they have like so many role models to look up to. And I think that's such a big thing. Because like when I was growing up, I like the only person I could be like, yeah, I want to be like Usain Bolt, but like whatever, right? But
Yeah,
I feel like there's so many more people you can look up to. And something I love about the fact that like women's game is still growing makes like the female athletes so accessible. Like you can like DM a female athlete, and the
yeah,
chances are they'll probably reply to you
Reply.
and you'll probably
True.
need to engage with them and like actually like talk to your role model. That's crazy. Like I just feel like that's like the biggest thing. You can like see people that look like you on screen, like playing at a really high level, getting that coverage, and like you actually have something real to aspire to. I think like, and that's just like the biggest thing that's changed for like young female athletes. I feel like it's
Yeah, like Instagram, I feel has made everything so accessible. You can actually
yeah.
just DM them
Yeah.
and they would reply. And just getting and even speaking to them would make, you know, that young athlete feel so good and want to join the sport. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Nandita, I didn't tell you, but made a little fun rapid fire question round, just to make this
Oh,
interview more fun.
okay.
It's just basic questions. Okay. Who are your top three female athletes and why?
Number one has to be Alex Morgan because I'm just obsessed with her. I saw her play recently and it was like amazing. Everyone thinks she's like over her peak and she's washed out, but I don't think so. I think she's done so much for the game and she's amazing. I think number two has to be probably Sam Kerr because she's like quarter Indian or something like that, so I can kind of claim her. And number three, uh, I don't know if she's like top three, but like someone who I'm really liking right now is Smriti Mandhana, and I like
Oh
because of
yeah.
like the well and all that, like she'd like like led
Yeah.
her team to victory, and I think that yeah.
Yeah. Next question. If you could have dinner with any female athlete, past or present, who would it be and why?
I think I'm gonna have to pick Sam Kerr because
Really?
I don't know, I'm like just fascinated by her. I just feel like she's just such a elite athlete. I just want to like know how her brain works because her gameplay is like insane and the way that she like you can like see like the gears like turn in her brain like while she's on the field. And I would just like love to just like hang out
Know
with her,
that.
I think.
That's great. Okay. What was your go-to pre-race pump song?
Glorious by Macklemore is such a good song to run to. I would
Yeah.
recommend that to everyone. It's so good.
Okay. Okay. If there was one line that you could give to anyone who was critiquing women's sports, what would it be?
Um that's hard. Um I think it's just, I mean, like everyone watches women's sports. Like it's just a fact now. Like,
Yeah.
like look at the numbers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the funniest moment you've had with your teammates while training?
So I used to train with my like best friend in the world, and we would like our coach used to make us train like do like this like cross country like hill step workout where we would like have to like go up some stairs on a different level that he was standing on, and like on really bad days we would like bend below the like barrier so he couldn't see us, and we would like walk so because like we would just like we don't want to run, and like we would always think that we were doing like the worst, most scandalous thing in the world. I think that was pretty funny.
Yeah, those are the questions that I had, and you answered them very well. And yeah, it was great that I could speak to you, and great to see someone who's so passionate about female sports. I've not seen that anywhere right now. Very
Yeah,
few.
it's really good to, like, yeah, it's nice to like connect with you, and we should definitely stay in touch.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to talk to you more and, discuss about sports because I love talking about sports as well.